Please make sure they're on off or on vibrate. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming. My name is Rabbi Amy Perlin. It is a privilege to be here honoring Shelley's request for me to guide us through this memorial journey. It is with broken hearts that we have all gathered to remember and honor a most wonderful woman, Shelley Nyer, the best wife and mother and daughter, and the most incredible bubby and sister and aunt and family member, gifted speech pathologist, and beloved and cherished, treasured friend. We come together to find comfort in our sadness and to offer this wonderful family support in a time of profound grief. In a world where we yearn for fairness, it is a cruel reminder that the word fair does not appear in our Torah and has no real translation in the Hebrew language. In Hebrew, when a child wants to say to a parent, "This isn't fair," the child says, "Ze lo fair." The diagnosis of ALS is the opposite of fair. We weep for the suffering that Shelley endured, and at times we can't help but feel anger because of the random blows that often strike down our loved ones, the good ones. And we ask, for what purpose, God? What sense to their torment and the anguish of those who love them? But we do have words in English and in Hebrew for gracious and resilient and courageous, which is how Shelley faced her fate. Let Shelley's courage continue to teach us. Let the care of her beloved Mark and those who helped her and loved her tirelessly day after day instruct us. The Nyer family would like to thank the A-team at the Hospice of the Western Reserve who took such great care of Shelley. And Shelley especially wanted to thank her aide, Roz. Roz, are you here? Thank you. Let these acts of gimilut chasadim, loving kindness, be a source of comfort. That loving care, so generously given, can truly help someone overcome even the worst possible fate. And I want to thank Rabbi Ben Sternman, who was with Shelley at the end here in Cleveland, which was so reassuring to me living so far away in California. And I want to thank my colleague, Cantor Dave Malecki, for honoring Shelley's wishes to have him sing and for being an honorary member of the Nyer family. And I am grateful to Rabbi Allison Van for enabling me to honor Shelley's dying wish that I be here to officiate today as a dear family friend for over 2 decades. At this season of Thanksgiving, even through our tears, we are thankful for every second and every minute and every hour and every day that we had with her. We are thankful for every gift of love Shelley shared and for all that she taught us in sickness and in health. When I was sitting in California writing, I wrote, Shelley is released from the prison of her burdensome body as she has entered eternity. And last night at Shauna's table, Shauna and Dina told me that she never felt she was limited, even as her body failed, as long as she had her mind and her voice. And she had both. She could beat most of you in Jeopardy till the very end. Her goodness and her love live on in us. Her gifts and her giving heart will always be woven into our souls. This is our faith, and I pray the beginning of our consolation. In this time of profound grief and loss, we turn to the voice of our sacred scriptures, which reminds us to treasure life and love and to find solace in the cherished memories of years together and blessings shared. Psalm 90. Adonai, ma'on ata hayita lanu b'dor v'dor, b'terem harim yuladu, v'tcholer eretz v'tevel, u'me'olam ad olam ata el. O God, you have been our refuge in every generation. Before the mountains came into being, before you brought forth the earth and the world, from eternity to eternity, you are God. You return us to dust. You decree, return you mortals. For in your sight 1,000 years are as yesterday when it has passed, as a watch in the night. You engulf us in sleep. We are like grass that renews itself. At daybreak it flourishes anew. At dusk it withers and dries up. The span of our life is 70 years and 10, or given strength 80 years. But the best of those years have trouble and sorrow. They pass speedily by, and we are in darkness. Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Turn us, O God, show mercy to your servants. Satisfy us at daybreak with your steadfast love, that we may sing for joy all our days. Let your deeds be seen by your servants, your glory by their children. May your favor, O God, be upon us. Establish the work of our hands, that it may long endure. Shelley left many instructions for this funeral. And one of them was that there were to be no music except for the cantor. And so, not only will he offer us the words of the 23rd Psalm, but it is comforting to know that this is what Shelley really wanted.
Adonai roi lo echsar binot deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot נפשי ישובב ישובב ינחני במגלי צדק ינחני במגלי צדק למען שמו גם כי אלך gates al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi ve'oshivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni taharoch lefanai shulchan neged zorerai dishanta vashemen roshi kosi revaya ach tov v'chesed yirtefuni kol yemei chayai kol yemei chayai ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אדוני רואי לא אחסר, Adonai roi lo echsar.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. God restores my soul, guiding me in straight paths in his name. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The other night when Mark couldn't sleep, he got up and wrote a few words about his beloved Shelley. Words of love from Mark. Never the spotlight. My wife was all about everyone else. Never wanted to be the focus. At work, it was about the children and their parents. She got to know them because she had a genuine interest and felt the more she knew, the better she could help the patient. Until sickness prevented it, she was still meeting a long-ago patient's mother for lunch and to catch up as friends do. When Shelley was named Outstanding Speech Therapist in Ohio, her typical response was, well, they were running out of people to give the award. Never the spotlight. When she became president of a speech-language organization, her response, that's what happens when you take a bathroom break during a meeting. They make you president. Never the spotlight. She loved getting to know people, not only asking them about themselves, but remembering everything. She was so genuine. The sharing between them was natural and true. Toward the end, when we had hospice at home, she was still about getting to know the doctors and the nurses and the all-important caregiver aides. She knew about them, their families, and always asked real questions and listened to the answers. Shelley was proud to say that Roz, her main caregiver, said, and I quote, "If we had met under different circumstances, we'd be friends going out to lunch together." With her illness raging, she still didn't want the spotlight on her. I will miss so many things about my wife, so full of life and humility. And I know for sure I will miss that smile. From the words of Ben Sirah, Ecclesiasticus, 2nd century BCE. Death is better than a life of pain, and eternal rest is better than constant sickness. Let us not seek to understand what is too difficult for us, nor search for what is hidden, nor be preoccupied with what is beyond, for we have been shown more than we can comprehend. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore, are our few days in eternity. The good things in life last for a short time, but a good reputation endures forever. Shelley asked for 2 readings in this service. There'll be more than that. I picked other things. The first is a poem entitled "The Butterfly," written by Pavel Friedman, a Czech poet, in the Theresienstadt concentration camp on June 4th, 1942. He was sent to Auschwitz on September 29th, 1944, where he was murdered at the age of 23. In my over 40 years of being a rabbi, I have never read this poem at a funeral before. But when Shelley asked that it be read, I thought about it a great deal. Penned up in the cruelty of a body ravaged by ALS, I can only imagine that the imposed barriers to mobility in life felt not unlike the ghetto's walls. And in so many ways, the butterfly is the symbol of living life freely and unhindered. But at its simplest, Shelley loved butterflies. Friedman's imagery surely spoke to Shelley, and with her last breath, we know that she kissed those she loved and her world goodbye. The butterfly. The last, the very last, so richly, brightly, dazzlingly yellow. Perhaps if the sun's tears would sing against a white stone. Such a yellow is carried lightly way up high. It went away, I'm sure, because it wished to kiss the world goodbye. For 7 weeks, I've lived in here, penned up inside this ghetto. But I have found my people here. The dandelions call to me, and the white chestnut candles in the court. Only I never saw another butterfly. That butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live in here, in the ghetto. I've been asked to share another eulogy from Susie Mandel, Shelley's best friend. And the words that follow, you will tell, are not my words, but Susie's. And Susie begins, schmaltz ahead. And she sets the scene. Scene. I respond to that from Hollywood. 2 women in Somerset Mall, Detroit, Michigan. Both are attractively well-dressed, but one has extra funky edge with her spiky red hair, coordinated patterns and textures, and bright tones of orange and green. I am the one riding in a motorized scooter while Shelley walks energetically beside me, in heels, of course. We are on a girls' trip to celebrate our long friendship. We schmeidry, as Shelley calls it, which is hard to translate. Beginning on the expensive side of the mall to marvel at the displayed high fashion. Lunch is at Neiman Marcus, where we both order salads. The server brings popovers fresh from the oven, and Shelley immediately hands hers to me, a symptom of her extreme generosity to the point of self-deprivation. After lunch, we cross over the bridge to the more affordable side of the mall. Shelley rejoices in each of my finds even more than when we locate the perfect shoes or handbag for her. Strangers stop us, and I don't mean only once, to remark that we must be sisters. We smile and laugh and explain we are best friends. But what did those strangers recognize when they encountered us together? I think they saw our kindred spirits. We met at a USY event when Shelley was 14 years old. We quickly became inseparable. She called me her big sis, and she was my little sis for the rest of our 60 years together. It is only recently that I recognized what those strangers sensed about us. We were soulmates. On Wikipedia, I found that a soulmate is a person with whom we share a feeling of deep affinity, involving, in our case, a platonic relationship, comfort, intimacy, spirituality, compatibility, and trust, all of the above. We stood by one another throughout each of life's joys and challenges. She was always there when I needed her without asking. We knew one another outside and in, and we loved one another unconditionally. Scene: Berkowitz-Kumin-Bookatz Memorial Chapel, Cleveland Heights, Ohio. The room is filled with family members and friends who loved Shelley and were blessed by her generous spirit in ways even she may not have recognized. Her beloved Shoshana, Dina, Emily, and Rafi are here to honor her memory. By their side stands Mark, to whom we are all eternally grateful for his loving, steadfast care of Shelley through the ravages of ALS brought to her body, just as her spirit remained bright and strong through it all. So I believe her spirit flourishes today, released to soar. As Shelley told me, she is in me, and she is in each one of you whom she so deeply loved. In the words of the composer and lyricist Stephen Schwartz, it well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now, whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine, because by being my friend, like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I have been changed for the better? Because I knew you. Because I knew you. I have been changed for good. As I said to your beloved mother, sei gesund, dearest Shelley, I will always love you. a poem by Dina Nyer Mendlowitz. We are each a Torah, filled with the words of our ancestors, the words our parents told us, the words we tell ourselves. We are each a Torah, to be held up with pride, to be carried, to learn from, and to teach each other. We are each a Torah, to be handled with great care, to be treated with gentleness, aware of how easy we can break and how valuable we are. We are each a Torah, to be embraced and celebrated with dance and song, honoring the knowledge and beauty we bring to this world. Shelley Nyer's Torah is best told by her two wonderful daughters, who had the privilege of learning her Torah from their beginnings to her ending. It's my privilege now to call up my beloved friend, Shauna.
Already a mess, so we'll see how this goes. In 1987, Emily Pearl Kingsley wrote the following: I am often asked to describe the experience of raising a child with a disability, to try to help people who have not shared that unique experience to understand it, to imagine how it would feel. It's like this. When you are going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks and you make your wonderful plans: the Colosseum, the Michelangelo David, the gondolas in Venice. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives. You pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands. The flight attendant comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." Holland, you say? What do you mean Holland? I signed up for Italy. I am supposed to be in Italy. All my life, I have dreamed of going to Italy. But there's been a change in the flight plan. They landed in Holland, and there you must stay. The important thing is they haven't taken you just to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place full of pestilence, famine, and disease. It's just a different place. So you must go out and buy a new guidebook. You must learn a whole new language, and you will meet a whole new group of people you would never have met. It's just a different place. It's slower paced than Italy, less flashy than Italy. But after you've been there a while, you catch your breath and you look around. And you begin to notice that Holland has windmills, and Holland has tulips, and Holland has Rembrandts. But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy, and they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they had there. And for the rest of your life, you will say, yes, that's where I was supposed to go. That's what I had planned. And the pain of that will never, ever, ever, ever go away, because the loss of that dream is very, very significant. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to Italy, you may never be free to enjoy the very special, very lovely things about Holland. Not long before my mom died, she talked about this piece, and she said she wanted it read at her funeral. Although her career began before it was written, She said Welcome to Holland described why she chose to work with children with different abilities. And she not only wanted to work with the children, but also with the families, especially those diagnosed with autism. I said to her that she was meant to be a tour guide for Holland, to show the kids she worked with and their families all the beauty that could be found there. And she smiled. There is so much I could tell you about my mom. I could talk about how she was the person who taught me how to be a daughter and a mother, who defined family and friendship for me. I could tell you that none of us are going to know how we are related to each other anymore, or which distant cousin was related in what way. She was the keeper of all that knowledge. We might have a chance with Uncle Eric, but Shelley knew it all because she wanted to know everyone's story. Family, friend, or new acquaintance. And then she remembered that story and would ask you about it the next time she saw you, because she truly cared. My mom was the woman who was perfectly dressed for every occasion and made sure her family was also perfectly dressed for every occasion, including today. And she was one of, if not the kindest person I knew, who was so generous and genuine with everyone she met, and yet would somehow be shocked by who and how many people were here today to honor her. I could go on, but I think what sticks out for me the most is how the planner of all planners, the person we joked decided what she was doing next New Year's Eve on January 1st, found Holland in her ALS diagnosis. For the past 3 years, she has been an exemplar of courage and resilience as she has lived with and died from ALS. The positive yet realistic attitude with which she faced every day was a masterclass in accepting what life hands you with dignity and grace. She found the silver lining in the disease attacking her body and not her voice, and in the gift of saying goodbye to all those she loved. My mom taught us how to live. Almost made it. She taught us how to die, and through it all, she taught us how to find the beauty in Holland.
A poem by Rabbi Joel Osserin. And the child asked, "Tell me of life." And the sage answered, "Life, my child, is a mystery. We do not ask to be born, nor do we even understand the meaning of birth, of creation. We grow and we experience life's pleasures and pains. We love and slowly, oh so slowly, come to realize that we have become, that we are. At that moment, we humble ourselves before the mystery of life and quietly say, though I knew not, I have been granted the most precious gift of all, the gift of life." And the child asked, "Tell me of death." And the sage answered, "Death, my child, is a mystery. It is the inevitable return of the gift of life, the gift which came free to us. We live as the trustee of that mysterious being, of that unexplainable becoming. Yes, you and I are but the trustees of life. We nurture it, we delight in it, we give it to others, and at the appointed time, we sadly, yet with pride, return it from whence it came. The beauty, my child, is that we are what we have become. What we have become remains long after the gift has been returned. It remains as a precious keepsake with our loved ones who live on." It's my privilege now to call upon Dina to share her words for her mother.
It's natural as a comedian to check out the crowd before I do my set, and this is the largest audience I've ever worked, so I'll try out some new material for you guys. It's interesting that somebody who was so planned in life had a daughter who wound up doing improv, and it seems kind of odd, but really the essence of what you learn in improv is that the most important thing to do is to listen, and the most important person is your scene partner. So she gave me the skills I didn't even know I needed. My mom has never minded me giving her a hard time about some of her little quirks. Anyone who has met Shelley knows she had interesting eating habits. If you worked with her in Akron or you sat in a Milestones meeting, you waited for the crispy pita and orange to come out, and you can count on it just as much as you could count on her. The one thing about her eating that made me laugh the most was that since she ordered the same salad at a restaurant called Champs multiple times a week, and her salad had so many changes, the restaurant finally just put a Nyer salad button on the cash register. Years later, I would be out with friends, and I would find out that the waitress worked at Champs at one time, and I said, "Do they still have the Nyer salad buttons in?" And she said, "Yes, it's part of our training." I could tell you tons of funny things about her eating, but that would leave out who my mom was at her core when it came to food. My mom was the person who always let our friends come to dinner, who would always make sure her people had a place to eat for the holidays, something my sisters inherited. My mom was the person who, even though she knew what she was ordering, would study the menu at length so she could recommend to you a dish she thought you would love. She was almost always right. Even in these last year or so, the question she asked my dad every day is, "What are you eating for lunch and what are you eating for dinner?" She was the one who made sure her hospice aides had fresh bechallah, even if they weren't Jewish. She made sure everybody was taken care of. My mom was also someone who had an innate fashion sense. In the words of the Nanny theme song, she had style, she had flair. One of the things she once said to me in high school that made me laugh the most was when we were out somewhere, I asked her what time it was. She asked me why I wasn't wearing a watch. I said I didn't put one on, and she replied with all the certainty in the world, like she was passing along famous words, "Dina, your watch and your earrings are like your bra and underwear. You should never leave home without them." Well, I don't have earrings or a watch on today. I guarantee I'm wearing a bra and underwear. But of course, my mom was way more than this comment. She was the person who loved finding a clothing item you would truly love. My mom would give anyone the shirt off her back, or even more likely, buy one for them in their size and favorite color. I can tell you a bunch of funny asides about my mom, but they will all lead to the same place. How giving she was, how much she wanted others to have what they needed, whether it was her family, her friends, the kids she worked with, or a complete stranger. Two memories of many that come to mind were, one, the prize box she kept for the kids she worked with. It was never just an assortment of random things. She found out what each of the kids were most into and would scour stores to find the perfect thing for each of them. The second memory I have took place about 5 or 6 years ago. I, like the rabbis, didn't know how you're supposed to make the papers work best. They didn't clue me in. Every Saturday, my parents, my sister, and I and our kids had brunch at First Watch. Every week, my parents would give each kid $5 to spend at Five Below. One week, my niece came back with an art set she bought. Our waitress, who we had never met before, came to the table and commented, "Oh, that's cool. I should get one for my daughter." The minute the waitress left, my mom wanted the kids to go back to Five Below and get a set for her. The bottom line in all of this is my mom was a giver. Above all, she was happiest when she knew, whether it was something big or little, that she had made others happy. When you're improvising, sometimes you will walk on stage with an idea, but your scene partner will first say their idea and you go with it. There's a saying at Second City, play the scene you're in, not the scene you want to be in. These past 2.5 years since my mom's diagnosis, my parents lived this saying, living a life they didn't expect, but they rose and met every challenge. Dad, who you are, showed up in every moment you lovingly and patiently took care of Mom. You were suddenly doing new task after new task with your signature kindness and heart, with a strength that I didn't know one human could possess. To you, and to anyone else who needs to hear it today, I will end with these words from a Mary Oliver poem. To live in this world, you must be able to do 3 things. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go.
I'm grateful to my colleague, Rabbi Helene Ferris, for searching out this poem that she wrote decades ago for this service, and then enabling me to modify it a little for these 2 wonderful daughters. A daughter and her mother. The daughter becomes ill. Mother is there for the daughter. A unique thing, this mother-daughter relationship. And then the mother becomes ill. Daughter is there for the mother. The daughter is all loving, all giving. She is there for the mother. Thoughts of childhood race through her mind. Why does it have to be like this? The mother can no longer physically do for the daughter as she once did. The daughter does for the mother, because that's what her mother taught her that daughters and family members do. A unique thing, this mother-daughter relationship. The mother dies. The daughter at first feels relief. No more suffering. She is at peace. And then comes the overwhelming sadness. The daughter realizes that her creator, her nurturer, her friend, her everything is gone. She tries to grasp the life that was her mother's and hers. It is gone. Her happy memories will soon dispel the grief. But today, a daughter grieves for her mother. A unique thing, this mother-daughter relationship. Last eulogy. Recently, my 7th grade grandson was the stage manager for his school play, The Addams Family. When he came to my house in his cast t-shirt, I immediately thought of the Nyers. Not for the things that are coming to your mind, but for the motto of the play that was inscribed on the back of his t-shirt. It's family first and family last. It's family by and by. I have had the privilege of knowing 4 generations of this incredible family. I met Mark and Shelley, Mike and Dolores and Grandma Jeanette at Shauna's ordination in New York in 2003, along with many people in this room. I knew from that moment that this was a very special family. In one day, I got an Aunt Pearl, an Aunt Roz, an assistant rabbi for 9 years, and a treasured friend for life in Shauna. Over the years, I came to love and admire Mark and Shelley as they faithfully visited Virginia, as I watched them support their daughters unconditionally, and as Gary and I came to Cleveland. In joys and in sorrows, in celebrations and in challenges, I saw how this family pulled together, took care of one another, and was bound by a love and a loyalty few families ever have. It's family first and family last. It's family by and by. Rochelle Rubin, the daughter of Adel and Myron, Mike to many of us, was born on September 30th, 1950. It was as a child that Shelley learned the importance of family. She was the sister, the big sister, to Mark with a C and Eric with a C. And rumor has it that these two wonderful grown-up brothers, when they were younger, tormented her as her babysitter when they were young boys, but she said she loved them anyway. As she reflected, Shelley had so many fond memories of their childhoods together, including lots of car trips to see family. Perhaps the most memorable of those trips was the cross-country trip to visit California family. Now, at one point I learned that Mark and Shelley shared a room. But what Shelley remembered from the California trip was that she had to sleep on a cot for 3 weeks. She also remembered Mark and Eric consuming their weight in food at the all-you-can-eat buffets in Las Vegas. I'm kosher and a rabbi, so I can't tell you what that food was. Shelley's life story is all about family, the Rubins and the Nyers. There were trips to see cousins in Monroe, Michigan, and Altoona, Pennsylvania, and many trips to see family in Chicago. Shelley loved spending time with her Zadie and Grandma in their store and was a big fan of her Zadie's rule that she could pick whatever flavor ice cream she wanted, and then they had to eat the whole pint that evening because otherwise it would melt. She was always close to her Aunt Pearl, her father's sister, who was like a mother to her, and she was close to her Chicago cousins, Ron, Lloyd, and Elise, who was like a little sister to her. Even after Uncle Eddie and his family moved to California, she remained close to those cousins as well, especially her cousin Sherry, who was like a big sister. Now, I got all this information. You get the theme here. Everybody's a sister, everybody's family. Everybody wants to be close to Shelley. Shelley also had fond memories of Shabbat dinners at her Bubby and Papa's with her family, her Uncle Fred and Aunt Elaine, and Cleveland cousins Neil and Karen. The dining room table could hold so many people, and all were welcome. Shelley remembered it always being crowded at the table. But she also recounted that the rule was that you had to go to the bathroom before the meal started because once you were seated, there was no way you'd be able to get out. And so many Passover memories, including the wine drops on page 32 of the Haggadah. Good for Eric for remembering the page number. And from the home movies Mike took over the years, you could see that everyone sat in the same seats year after year. Eric will always remember his sister as a planner. So Thanksgiving and Hanukkah are coming. It's time for you to plan Pesach, Eric. Mark wants everyone to know that his sister was great at languages, French and Yiddish, and she was a great writer and family poet. Everyone will remember the parodies for the bat mitzvahs. Erev Shel Shoshana, and Dina's based on the song Dona Dona. Shelley treasured being able to communicate in so many modalities. So it is no wonder that she dedicated her life and her career to helping others acquire language. She was a gifted professional and a gift to all of us. And I am grateful to Julie for reminding me to make sure I told everybody that she always found the perfect gift for everyone. And you were a gift to her for over 50 years. Shelley and this guy, Mark with a K, were fixed up by Shelley's lifelong best friend, Susie, and Susie's college roommate over 57 years ago. When they married 3 years later, on November 28, 1970, 54 years ago this Thanksgiving Day, Shelley got 2 new siblings in Roz and Esther, which was such a blessing for her. And the family grew as siblings married, and she became a sister-in-law and eventually Aunt Shelley to 8 nieces and nephews, and now more that they have partnered and had children of their own. It's family first, and it's family last, and it's family by and by. The special love that Mark and Shelley shared grew exponentially with the birth of their beautiful and amazing daughters, Shauna and Dina, who soon learned family traditions and recipes like mashed potato pie, and a love for Jewish life and movies and what it means to be there for a family member in need or a friend. And they are each accomplished storytellers, albeit one of the girls is funnier than the other. Not saying, truth is truth. And the award for Best Bubby in a Leading Role went to Shelley Nyer, as Rafi and Emily were the joys of her life. And how grateful she was that Leon and Stephen were such good fathers to her wonderful grandchildren. She loved you both. She loved every minute she spent with those grandchildren. Who wouldn't? And she quelled with each of your accomplishments. Your bubby loved how you grew up like siblings rather than cousins. And she was so proud of the young adults you have become. I know she will forever be alive in your hearts as you share memories of all the wonderful times you had with her. I also believe that she will continue to watch over you for the rest of your lives. Shelley had her style and she had her quirks, but most of all, she had a heart of gold, always giving. I have wanted to be a member of this family for decades, but even more so since her diagnosis, when Shelley had a drawer in her night table filled with cash. You need a manicure? Go to the drawer, take some cash. You need a special outfit for something? Go to the drawer, take some cash. The family had a name for this drawer, which I'm not going to share, but I call it the Love ATM. It gave Shelley so much joy to send her family to the drawer as her own body and ability to shop failed. But not being able to shop didn't stop her from orchestrating everyone else's shopping, just as she supervised the outfits for today from her sickbed. God bless her. Nice suit, Mark. We shared so many Simchas together. I remember her joy at Emily's naming in Virginia and more recently at Emily's bat mitzvah here in Cleveland at Suburban. Because she was Bubby to Emily, I became Savta to Emily, Savta being grandma in Hebrew, because Emily had a Bubby and a Nana, and I needed another name. But then I had 7 grandchildren, and they didn't have a choice. I was already Emily's Savta. So we all knew there was only one Bubby in this family, and that was Shelley Nyer. In sickness and in health, Shauna and Dina were there for their mother and for one another with a fierce loyalty and devotion that she taught them as a wonderful daughter and sister herself. Take care of each other now. Your mother taught you that life is worth living, even when it is hard, and even when it gets harder every day. A mug in one of my catalogs says, "Sisters are different flowers from the same garden." Your mother planted that garden of family for you. She will rest in peace, knowing that you have made her seeds of family blossom as you live together and you're always there for one another, just as she knew that you will always be there for your father. It's family first, and it's family last. It's family by and by. And Mark, my dear sweet friend, in Hebrew we say acharon, acharon, chaviv, last and most loved. Fueled by great love for over half a century and a lifetime of caring for one another, you have been nothing short of amazing these past 3 years. You were Shelley's everything, and you showed it in every way possible, even holding that phone so she could do Wordle. Even your last anniversary cards to one another were the exact same card. You were soulmates until the very end, and you will be soulmates forever. You devoted yourself to Shelley's care. You sold the house so you could move to a place that she could navigate, and you never left her side all these months as she was trapped in an unforgiving body in the bedroom. No husband could have done more or been more. Life will never be the same for you, but you know that already. I pray with all my heart, dear friend, that the love you shared and the lifetime of memories will help in some small measure to comfort you. Your friends and your family, this room filled with people, these people surrounding you, we will all do what we can to help you in the days ahead. Not by coincidence, this past Saturday's Torah portion was Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah, Genesis 23, the only portion named for a woman, which begins with the passing of our matriarch Sarah and the recounting of the years of her life. And then the portion teaches that Abraham proceeded to mourn for Sarah and then to buy land to bury her. The matriarch of this family was 74 years. And like our fourth father, Abraham, Mark will mourn, and we will accompany him as he buries his beloved Shelley, as from here we will proceed to Mount Olive Cemetery. And you and I, we are here today to mourn Shelley and to honor her life, whether we are family or friends who are family, or colleagues or fellow congregants, or friends of those grieving this caring, courageous soul who touched all of our lives in profound ways. May the lessons Shelley taught us in life and in dying forever be with us. In the days ahead, as we grieve this profound loss, may we cherish our family and friends with the same intensity and devotion that she showed each and every day. And on Thursday, when we gather at our tables, we will give thanks for an amazing woman whose life and death nourished the world with loving care. We will always love you, Shelley. May you rest in peace. I ask you to take a brief moment to pray silently. Safam Kaddish. We know you were not a saint because no mortal one could be, but you were the kind of person we tried so very hard to be. For you said it does not matter what you earn or where you live, and you'll always be remembered by the way that you would give. You always were a giver, and you gave with all your heart, that it pained you so to take, because you loved the giving part. So we give to you these thoughts today in sad memoriam, for our lives have been much richer, because it's you that we learned from. I invite the cantor to chant El Malei Rachamim as I ask you all, if you are able, to please rise.
El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Ashechina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Rachel Bat Meir Ve'edel שהלכה לעולמה בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר אמן.
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest under the wings of your sheltering presence to Rochelle Rubin Nyer, our Shelley Rachel Bat Meir Ve'edel, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated. The family is grateful for your presence here today, as they will be so very appreciative of your loving support as they continue to mourn. We will gather for burial at Mount Olive Cemetery immediately after the service. I want to thank Berkowitz-Kumin-Bookatz and everyone here at the funeral home for helping me, an out-of-towner, navigate the customs of Ohio. Shiva will begin immediately after interment at Suburban Temple Kolami until 8 p.m. this evening, and we will have a minion service at 7 p.m. There will be Shiva tomorrow and Tuesday at the home of Shelley's daughters, 30499 South Woodland Road, Pepper Pike, from 1 to 4 and 6:30 to 8:30. Contributions may be made to the Linda Wolf Talmud Torah Fund at Suburban Temple, the Impostors Arts Foundation, or the Hospice of Western Reserve, honoring Shelley's spirit of giving and her profound impact on those around her. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of the sun, we will remember her. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, Shelley too shall live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. Thank you again for being part of this memorial service today and offering your comfort to this wonderful family. And may you be comforted in your sorrow. May God bless all of you as you return to your homes and your lives.